and gentlemen, I don't know whether to call you Laura or Lori.
Any can do.
Yeah. So you're just going to introduce yourself. I'm looking down because I'm looking at my notes. As always, as per usual in this channel. So, Doreen, introduce yourself and tell us more about yourself. I think in your advocacy work, your journey about it, especially on things womanhood. Yeah. I think at the end of this, we're going to share her handles so that you can follow her and see the awesome work she's doing. Yeah.
Hi guys, so my name is Lorraine Omaita. I am a menstrual health advocate and I champion for sustainable development goals. I am the founder of Hey Laura, a digital platform that is aimed at educating everyone, including men and boys, on menstruation. And so online, I have tapped into Facebook and TikTok to educate everyone about menstruation. And then offline, I create workshops to actually have conversations with young girls and with young boys on issues surrounding menstruation and hygiene and also life skills generally. So thank you for having me today.
I'm so excited.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you. As I was saying, it's Laura is really, we haven't known each other for a long while, but we happen to work in the same organization. And actually, let me say how we got to do this video. Yeah, I just walked into her office and I saw whatever was on the desktop. It's a research about periods, and I was like, that's interesting. So tell me, are you passionate about this? Do you do this? And that's how we came to realize that we are actually passionate about the same things. And for her, she has gone a notch higher to actually research and have some meat to the passion. So actually, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm so excited. Actually, I'm so excited. So excited. So you've talked about Hey Laura. Maybe you can tell us more about it and really what caused you to, because I've gone through it and I've seen what you're sharing there. It's about information about things that actually even women need to know. You would think that because you're a woman and you go through this through menstruation, you would know, but actually even there are things I didn't know about. So what made you start that? Yeah.
So for me, menstruation is personal. What I do is actually personal. It's about a journey of learning. It's about a journey of relearning and learning, breaking the silence, dismantling the taboos and cultures that have already been put there. So that's the reason I started Hey Laura, to provide a platform where I can be able to engage each and every person on issues surrounding menstruation, so that as women we cannot talk about impacting other people out there if we do not know what happens in our bodies, if we cannot explain why things happen the way they do. So if we have that information, we are able to conquer our own bodies and also the world out there. So I started Hey Laura to provide a platform where we can have power as women, and so that we can be able to impact the world out there.
Yeah, and I think it's actually really powerful, as you're saying, conquer our bodies, as in it's powerful to understand. Last week we talked about learning and taking time as a woman to just learn about yourself, listen to yourself, learn about your body, where you act, the way you act. And actually I recommend, I don't know whether you guys, girls and guys, have looked at it about even temperaments and doing the test online. They're available about knowing your temperament, where you react, the way you react. But actually, now that you've brought that up, the issue of hormones and actually acting up due to hormones and due to the rise and the low of progesterone and estrogen, it sounds a bit scientific, but actually it affects the mood, it affects how you are. And sometimes you might wonder, why is it that you know, you're acting the way you're acting, or you're feeling the way you're feeling. Today you're happy, tomorrow you're not. And actually, the way you're saying it's I think it's powerful when you have the information, you know, when you know that it's actually because these things happen during your cycle, in during the month, the period, so this time you're like this time you're like that. So sometimes you need to know that, so that you actually know why you're acting the way you're acting. As I was sharing with you, for me, I used to actually hate myself. Not really hate, but just be like, Grace, just get it together, you know, because sometimes you want to, you know, I used to think, because sometimes you act up and maybe you're sad, or you lash out to someone, then nilikuwa najiambia, I need to get my life in order, you know. I can't be, today I'm like this, tomorrow I'm not like, I'm like this, you know. I wanted to just, so I was telling myself, I will never do that again, I will just, but then it happens again and again, until I realize it's actually a thing that happens with your body. So thank you for providing such a platform. And yeah, we celebrate people like you.
Thank you.
And thank you for, I thank God that I have met you, and together with you people, as we are hoping to educate, but also as we do that, so that people can take on the baton and also do it in there, because we can't reach everyone. And especially in African countries, and you can attest to that, it's not a common thing to be talked about. Even women may think it's disgusting. Yes. Like to even bring it up. I saw something you had said about and we had talked about this in the channel last week, about the packaging of the pads. You know, even your mom akikuona umebeba pads is like, we feature hiyo, like why you carry, wacha kuonyesha wanaume, things like that. Maybe what can you say about that?
You know, it's something that you have found being done. It's something that you found being done in secret. You go to the shop, and so what you're going to do, you're going to wait for everyone to go away, and then that is when you gain the courage to actually go to the shopkeeper and say, nataka pads, ama nataka always, and you don't want the others to hear. And so at one time I thought, is it something wrong? Is it wrong to actually, yes, are you going to buy weed or something? Or
actually that's what I said.
It's not, because one, as a woman, you don't choose to menstruate. This is something that is natural. This is something that God brought it to us, and then it's something that we should be proud of. So anytime you go to the shop or even to the supermarket, hii si nyama utashinda ukifungiwa na karatasi all through. This is not something to hide when you go to the toilet, and then ikianguka you're scared or you're embarrassed, because menstruation is such a beautiful process, and it's every day of our lives. It's not about the days that you bleed. It's about each and every day of our lives. The hormones, everything, they happen each and every day of our lives, and we need to embrace that. We need to love that, and it's okay to like feel overwhelmed or whatever way you're feeling. That is okay, because this is something that has been brought to us. So don't be embarrassed about it. Go buy the pads proudly, and then walk with them proudly, and then that is how we are going to raise a generation that is proud of their bodies, proud of what happens, a generation that speaks up, and so it's sustainable. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. And we can talk about the relationship between this conversation and SDGs. As I confessed earlier, for me liko tu na passion. I hadn't like merged it into the SDGs, you know. SDGs is Sustainable Development Goals, for those who might not know. Again, we said last week, we need to inform ourselves, so that we are not the people I was telling them, like not in every conversation you don't know what's going on. So because you don't know where kazi ni kusema tu ai kwenda guy, you know, so you need to know about these things. For me now, as I was saying about SDGs, yes, I'm aware about them, but at some point I just love the way you have awesomely linked them into menstruation and period talk and everything, and acknowledging that actually there is no one single of them that has addressed this into specificity, but you have just linked them so awesomely. I was just going through your post and I was like, this is awesome. You know, so maybe you can tell us why you thought of doing that and marrying the two, the period token, the sustainable SDGs.
So, for those who don't know, Sustainable Development Goals were created by the United Nations to be able to provide a framework for the world by the time 2030 is here. So, they have targets and indicators, and there are 17 of them. So, when it comes to menstruation, one thing is we need to know is we cannot attain these 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 without actually handling the issue of menstruation. So menstruation affects a couple of SDGs that are already there. So that is why we cannot leave out or sideline the issue of menstruation, because if we leave that out, then we are not going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So, for example, when you're talking about SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, so if we don't educate girls on the abnormal kind of periods, if we don't educate people out there on why they should not have pads sit on their bodies for long, we are going to have issues of infections and have reproductive infections. So we are not going to achieve good health if we do not talk about menstruation. So this menstruation is interlinked, and it's actually if we need to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we are not going to leave out the issue of menstruation.
Wow, that's really awesome. And as I said, I like the way you just linked them. I also think it is crucial, and actually looking at all of them, there's a way it just comes in. And now when I think there's one on equality, inequality. I am not sure how you're going to marry these, but now let's talk about again, we can't, this, what I do in this platform, it's really to not really fully cover a topic. It's just to spur a conversation and to actually just a spark, so that you can go and learn about it yourself and just educate yourself. And if it's a discussion, then let it be like a discussion that can be carried forward with an aim to inform the society, either for advocacy or just for knowledge. Because again, as you've said, especially around this issue, knowledge is it's needed, it's power actually. So about menstruation and period talk and men. So why it needs, I think I touched on it a bit, but why it needs to be not only a girl's talk. You know, I think we were talking with you earlier, and you were telling me about especially even how this talk is introduced, even most of schools. I remember we were being separated. So because we want to talk about periods, so the boys go this side. I don't know. I don't know, for some reason I always wondered wao wanaenda kuambiwa nini, because but then girls tuko separated, tunaambiwa peke yetu, and then the boys peke yao. But then I remember there was a lot of stigma. Like when now the boys came, because they don't know. So like when there's blood, first of all, we mwenyewe uko shocked. You're like, hey, what's happening? Like for me, I remember now, this is a bit off topic, but when my breast started growing, it's just around the same time that I had learned about breast cancer. So of course, when they're growing, for men, if you don't know, it's painful. So it's I was feeling pain, and I remember I was like, oh my god, I'm done. I thought I had cancer. And it's just my breast growing. You know, I have never forgotten that moment. And I told my mom again. Bless our mom. Sometimes sometimes I think because in the African culture, they just don't know how to say these things and talk to us. Again, I think that's another maybe empowerment that we need to do. Because sometimes because it's how they are also brought up. So if also they didn't discuss it openly with their mothers, if there was such a thing then I think it's also hard for them to even find the words and then way to also talk to their daughter. So we are not entirely chomeaing our elder women or our moms. So I remember like when I shared, I don't remember what she said, but she just sort of brushed it off. She was like, but at least she assured me. She was like, you're fine, you're growing. That's all she said. She was like, thank God I'm not sick, but I'm not sure what's going on. But so back to what we were saying about separation, and just when do the boys need to be brought in this conversation?
Yeah. So for me, I think boys, I mean, if you have a son that is around 8 or 9, the same age that you have girls starting their menstruation, these are conversations that you, as a parent, you need to have with your son. As a teacher in school, you need to have with your sons. And I keep on saying, menstruation affects the whole world globally. Just because it happens to women, then that doesn't mean that it's only affecting women. It affects each and every person, because menstruation affects like the whole lives of women, from education to health to participation to their esteem to their dignity. So we cannot leave out men, because men in the African setup, men are the ones that create rules, they create regulations. So if we involve men, if we tell them what happens, then they are actually going to get to create better rules for us as women, provide an environment for us women to thrive, even as we are undergoing menstruation. And then the other thing is, for boys in school, a lot of boys are the ones that shame girls. So the moment we have conversations with them and tell them, you know, this is what happens during our menses, and it's wrong to shame girls during their menses when they stain their dress. So the moment we have such conversations, we are actually enabling more girls to attend school, more girls to be confident, more girls to participate, and at the end we are improving the economies of our world, of our country.
True. I think that's pretty awesome, especially the issue of starting the conversation early. Because sometimes I also feel it's a bit unfair when you just bombard these boys, not boys now, when they are men now, kwa sababu sengine you're just mad at maybe someone kwa sababu hajui hata vile ana react, because he doesn't have the culture of knowing that he should be part of this conversation. So I think it's important to start it early, but also it's not too late if you've not started it. For the men, I think that's why we have this conversation. But also there is still time for you to just research and just know how to be supportive, especially in the issue of hormones, where I find it, I've talked about it, but I find it sengine mpaka mtu anakwambia kitu you're like inakuingia, unajua, like especially when you lash out ama when you are moody. And you don't have to do that. When you are maybe aware, as you've said, it's a whole thing that's connected. When you are aware about it, you're able to know even how to be supportive and how to react to women, and how to just also encourage them in the journey, because as you've said, you don't choose to be a woman, you don't choose to menstruate. And as maybe we shall discuss in another discussion later, it's actually, women have different journeys. So you can't compare. You know, there are those things that when you're cramping and then you have pain, people are like, are you the only woman to go through it? Are you the only one when it is? I mean, people are different. There are those who don't experience a lot of pain. It's normal for them, but there are those who will experience excruciating pain. Actually, I've just read in your Hello, there's one that you had said, actually there's a certain, I don't remember a percentage, but there's a certain percentage of the pain that women go through when they're cramping that actually can be compared to a heart attack. Imagine that. So people have different journeys, and there's a lot that we can talk about around it, about what it is, how it happens, and different women, how to say. I think we should do a video or not what not to say.
That is really important.
It is important what not to say. And I mean, if you're educating them, then we can as well say our version of it.
And I want to tell, you know, the guys that are watching this, you're going to be a dad someday, and you're going to be a dad of a pretty beautiful daughter out there. And so if you don't have this information, and probably a female figure is not there, then how are you going to have this conversation with your daughter in case she starts her period and you are the only person in the house? So it's important as a guy to educate yourself about these things. And even as you're doing your shopping, you know, anytime, for me, I'm gonna say, in my opinion, my dad, he's going to do the shopping in the house, but then pads are not going to be in the package of the shopping yet. It's something that happens each and every month, and it's something that he should incorporate in the budget, and also in as he goes to the supermarket to buy these period products. So as a dad, it's important to know this, so that when you're doing shopping, you also remember,
it's actually a necessity,
to buy the pads. And the only way you're going to do that is if you have these conversations in the house. If you have this conversation with your daughter, then it is going to get easier. You'll be able to know, oh, my daughter uses this particular brand.
You know, also you need to know, because again, they are different and they are different preferences. Like, they are regular. I was watching a funny video, I think you had shared, about a boyfriend calling the girlfriend from the shop. He's like, so hi babe, so what size are you? And he's like, well, these are not diapers, doesn't work like that. So I think it's also good to, you know, and on that note, I had a conversation with a colleague. We work in the same compound. I don't know how we started that conversation, but he was like, he's a dad to a daughter. He was like, he knows all these things. First of all, I hadn't even thought put it in consideration. I mean, I just thought you should put it in the budget, you should buy the parts, but you're not saying which ones, because they are different. Kuna wale wana react to this one. There are those who actually use tampons. There are those who, so if I use a tampon and then there are sizes, so if I use a tampon, then it will be absurd. You can kujana, but yes, I'll use, but you know, you need to know. I think that's awesome. And something I can add about women, and I mean about men, and them being part of the conversation. You see, like, I was so blessed to listen to that man talk, and he was like, this actually was giving an example of the daughter, the way you're saying, the daughter alikuwa the period had come, so he was the one who was going to buy, because the mom was not around. Then when he went to the shopkeeper was a guy. Then he worried why, as in the way he expressed, because he knew what the daughter uses, the brand. Was like, do you have this brand? Oh, you don't have. Do you have this other one? Do you have this specific variation of the pad? And the guy was like, he was like, hey, how do you know these things? And then I can kumpakia, then again and I pack it. He's like, no, don't do that. You know. So I think there's also a space for men to just be also the champions, because I think men are able to listen to men. Maybe it will hit more when a man actually educates you about menstruation. I think there's a place.
And if we want to create this environment for men to actually walk with us through this journey, us as women, we also need to start having those conversations. So we need to open up. We need to say, you know, this is what happens.
Oh, it doesn't need to be a secret.
So when we speak about it, then we raise conversations, we spur debates.
It's true.
And then men are going to know, and then the more you speak about it, the less disgusting it's going to be. And
it also becomes like a normal part of everyday conversation. It doesn't have to be like a taboo. I think also, wow, that's a good talk. Let's talk about the unawareness even around women. Also, like for me, I didn't know that. Again, on your platform, I saw a lot of education about different products and how they are used, which is, I am sure, that things that women don't know. Things like tampons. Let me give you a story. And this is, again, just to advocate for women to be aware of your body. First of all, okay, I don't know, see, I'm also fearing saying things, or rather I'm having reservations about down there and the anatomy down there. First of all, I didn't, up to when I was really older, I didn't know how many, can I call them holes?
Yes, you can.
I didn't know how many holes we had. I didn't know actually there are three. The one for the anus, then urethra and the vagina. So for me, I don't know what I thought. Actually, way into campus, I didn't know that it was. So my friend, I don't know whether I can mention her name. I don't know whether she'll remember. Glory. I went. She was using a tampon.
Yeah.
First of all, I hadn't seen. Can you imagine the campus? I hadn't seen a tampon.
Yeah.
So I was like, seems comfortable. Because again, pad and things coming out, and you having to wipe the whole area.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's a good idea. So I was like, give me one, I go use. I don't know whether I shared her with the experience, but me, I inserted it in the wrong place. I was like, this thing is damn painful.
Yeah.
So this is what you go through. And from that time, I was like, I'm not gonna use tampons. I think when I shared with her later, she was like, but how did you put it? She's like, how was I supposed to? Then I was like, and then I came to understand I was actually doing it wrong. So even as women, there are things we don't know. Actually, things that we could know that could help us. Because I think up to this date, but I've never used it.
Yeah.
Again, reading your blog, I was like, maybe I should, trying it out. Because sometimes I think maybe I'll come with a report when I use it for my review. But I think it's a bit comfortable, especially if you're. Is it possible to swim when you're on your period?
Yes.
You can tampon.
swim. Yes.
See, I didn't know that.
Yes.
You don't have to cancel actually your trip. You're going swimming with the people because you can actually use a tampon.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at my so let's talk about that also, like the unawareness around it and things that are available to us, options that are available to us, and even the etiquette around menstruation for women.
So one, for women are unaware of their own bodies. Let's start from there. They do not even know how their female reproductive system is.
Yeah.
And so we have women who say that the outside part is the vagina, yet the outside part is not the vagina. The vagina is way inside. So one, we need to know how is the anatomy of our reproductive system. So when you get to know, and then I keep telling people around me, if you've never seen your reproductive system, feel comfortable, go take a mirror, just
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
go take a mirror and just
Look at yourself,
so that when something goes wrong, you're going to be able to know, and then you're going to act and actually go to the doctor and get checked. But then if you're not aware of how your anatomy works, of your own body parts, then that is not an issue. So the other thing is on the different period products. I have mentioned on my page, for me, I knew pads
only
through. And
I think for most people, because
Yes.
I'm also included there.
And for me, pads were itchy, were burning. So the experience wasn't amazing for me. And then I came to know we have tampons, and then we also have menstrual cups. You can just Google the menstrual cup, and then you're going to see how that looks like. And then we also have reusable pads, the ones that you wash them and then you dry and then you use them again. And then we have period panties.
That one I didn't know. I actually knew it today.
Yes, we have period panties. But then unfortunately, the only things that are available, for example, where we are,
that's another.
that is the other issue. We have the disposable pads and the tampons. But then when it comes to menstrual cups,
they are also, but they're
they're
not
expensive.
They're expensive. They're
Yes.
expensive, and people don't know much about it.
So we need to give girls, we need to ensure that they have power of choice. Anytime as a teacher or even as a parent, for you to actually tell a girl about menses, you yourself, you also need to know about the menses and what is available, so that you can say, oh, we have the disposable pads, you have the tampons, you have the menstrual
and also
cup.
how you use them.
Yes.
Because I think something like the menstrual cup, first of all, I learned about it a while back. There's, I don't know whether you know, there's this lady on YouTube, Grace, I think
Grace Cup.
The Grace Cup.
Yes.
So when I was actually, I think I shared with my friend, I was like, I have watched this disgusting thing on YouTube. Why can, because how she documented, now I apologize to the whole fraternity for thinking it's disgusting, but I think because I was uninformed, I was like, ew, why are you, why? Because she was actually doing a vlog.
Yes.
I'm sure maybe you've seen it.
Yeah.
She was doing a vlog of how you use the cup to insert, and then I was like, why does she think this is necessary? You know, but I think it's very necessary. First of all, because we are aware about the options available, but also there is nothing disgusting about it. There is nothing really disgusting about blood coming out of you as a woman, and you know, even I just saw an artist who draws using the blood, and that's her expression. I was like, this is awesome, this is beautiful. And if you're watching this video and you're feeling, ew, that's disgusting, it's okay, because I think we were there. It's okay to feel like that, but as you get more aware about these things, you'll understand why we think actually it is awesome, it's blissful. Yeah, and I think it's again about awareness and people actually coming out and talking about it. So, because there are people who feel bad to be women, especially because of that process. You're like, it's like a curse to be a woman. Because sometimes you're like, why is it that we are the one who go through these things, and you know, you feel like I need burden. But I think as more we talk about it, we embrace it, so it becomes a beautiful thing, which it is. You're not like trying to ipaka a beautiful thing, but actually when you internalize it, you actually realize it's actually something to really enjoy, because it's part of being a woman.
Yeah, and then you know the point of, you know, when you start embracing your own body, understanding that you have a round shape, fat legs or thin legs, when you start appreciating your own body the way it is, you know, it's just amazing. You know, you might hate your periods, but then when you love your body, you start actually liking your periods. And then that is what happened to me. I hated my periods, and so when you just find the root cause, you come to realize it's because you don't actually even like your body, you don't even know your body. But then the more you get to know about your body, you start loving the way different processes work, and then you start appreciating your periods. You start taking care of yourself during your periods, and at the end of the day, you just feel happy and fulfilled.
It's awesome. I just like the way. See, I told you it's love at first sight. It's rare to find actually someone, you know, you can attest to that, someone who is actually informed about their body, womanhood, and willingly talk about it. Thank God for empowerment.
And shout out to the Grace Cup. Now that you mentioned her, you know, she is the one who let me, because she talked about it. So what happened was I got the courage to actually do that.
It's true, because it was such bold. Shout out. I think I'm going. I don't know. How do we do it?
You can tag her.
I can tag. I will. Thank you so much for championing that for us. I mean, you know, sometimes I'm sure when she was doing it, and even now before this video, she wouldn't know that she created an impact on both of us. I mean, we hadn't met like I was watching that, but we watched at different times, and we are inspired by it at different times. So it's for such things that we actually do this. And actually, the last question that I was going to ask you is why this is important. Why is it important to talk about these things? Why is it important to I don't know, create a video like this and just talk about this, why it's important. First, maybe I can say it's for such things, to inspire people, to inform people, but also because this is something that has been sort of hidden that we need to bring on top. Maybe
so for me, I think talking about periods is really important, because one, when you talk about periods, we start having the conversation. We start you know, for a long time we have normalized period pains. Let's start from there. Period pains, most of them are actually bad signs of underlying reproductive problems, but then because unaambiangwa siwe wa kwanza, or you know, you're just told a couple of different things, then that inafanya it makes it difficult for you to diagnose a problem that you might have.
Wow.
So you have conditions like endometriosis that takes a decade to actually get to know, oh, I had endometriosis, something
Because
that
you were told pain is normal.
Pain is normal. So it's important to have this conversation so that you can be able to know what is the normal, what is the abnormal. So that for the abnormal, you're able to go for checkups. And then the other thing is making period products affordable for everyone. In Kenya, 65% of women cannot even afford pads. And then they end up using different, like, all drugs that are unhygienic. So if we talk about these, we are able to tell them you can use these in a hygienic way, and then you're able to avoid reproductive infections. So if we have this conversation, we educate young girls, we educate our own selves, we love ourselves, we have power of ourselves. And then also, if we educate ourselves about periods, at the end of the day, men are able to know, politicians are able to know, policies that are created are able to favor us, and then at the end of the day, we are able to empower women and achieve the sustainable development goals.
Wow. Yes. What a way to end this. And as I said, there's a lot, like right now we just feel like there's a lot we can talk about, but again, there's always time, we can always discuss this. But also, as we said, the aim is to just put these conversations there, put these nuggets there, so that you can learn them for yourself and pass it on. Please pass it on. You know, I know it's not easy. You can't just wake up in the morning like, I'm going to talk about my period. It's different for people. For me, because even of how we have been brought up, as we were saying, even the women that went before us, they're like, don't talk about that. You know, there's something you had said about calling pads mukate. You know, and even for you, like for me, I knew it's mukate, but I remember there's a time story time. My sister had wrapped it typically in a gazette. I was like, I need to know mukate ni nini na kwa nini anaificha. So I went, I read. I saw it. Then I didn't know they were pads, but then I wondered what they were, you know. And now as you grow, you're taught how to hide it, because it's shameful. I think periods are not shameful, and going through this process is not shameful, and we are saying it so that other young girls and even older girls know that it's not, and actually pass the baton. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming. And we are going to have this more.
Yes, definitely. Anywhere we need to talk about periods. Let me just
and womanhood and Thank you guys for coming on and watching. Today is a bit long, but it's worth it. So as always, if you like the content in this channel, we don't coerce people to subscribe. Please, if you feel inspired to subscribe, please do. But I wonder why you wouldn't feel inspired. These are nice conversations. So if you have not, hit that button. As always, thank you so much for the support. Share this video and pass on the conversations. Thank you. Thank you.